At this point, I think anyone who's even vaguely aware of the Chinese car market is also aware of the fact that Huawei, one of China's largest tech companies, has launched a bunch of car brands in the last 2 years or so. What many people might not realize, however, is that most of those brands aren't particularly successful. Really all of them, except this one, Aito, a brand that focuses on making large luxury SUVs like this one, the M8. The M8 is priced between $52,000 and $63,000 US, which puts it firmly in the luxury category here in the Chinese car market. And yet, they're selling anywhere from 10 to 20,000 units per month. Part of the reason for that success, at least I think, is that it looks a whole heck of a lot like their first hot-selling model, the M9 flagship SUV. There have, however, been some small but meaningful changes to the look of this car, particularly the redesigned headlight units. These have dropped the lower portion from the M9's design that I think made it look like it had bags under its eyes as if it hadn't slept in days. This new design looks more like a stormtrooper helmet, and Misa-like. This thing is down 2 LiDAR units compared to the M9, but you'd be hard-pressed to tell. First, the ones that it keeps. Front-facing roof-mounted LiDAR there, and the solid-state one in the rear. The side LiDAR units are gone, but because they have seemingly used the exact same mounting that they have on the M9, which has a LiDAR unit on the side right here, it looks like it still has the LiDAR units. But in fact, this is just a body color panel. Another area in which the M8 differs very little from the M9 is in terms of exterior dimensions. That is despite the fact that it costs over 10,000 USD less than an M9. The wheelbase, for example, is only 5 millimeters shorter than the M9. That means that you can save a whole lot of money buying an M8 without that stigma that's usually associated with buying the cheaper model because people think you can't afford the more expensive one. The boot or trunk of the Aito M8 measures 392 liters. That includes some usable space underneath the floor here. If you lay down the third row, you get 1,323 liters. And you can do that at the touch of a button right here. You can also, at the touch of a button, raise up the ride height of the vehicle in order to make it easier to get things in and out thanks to the air suspension. The interior of the M8 is essentially a copy of the M9's. That includes the gigantic triple screen display in front of me. That display uses the Huawei Harmony operating system, which remains one of the best available on the market, whether we're talking about visuals, we're talking about the snappiness of its load times, or simply the clarity of its menu logic. Ironically, it's also the interior of this car where you can start to see the differences between it and the M9, particularly the fact that a lot of the stuff that's standard on the M9 is an added cost option on the M8. Then again, it's hard to tell because the owner of this particular car that we rented basically optioned everything that they could. That includes the electrically opening front and rear doors, as well as electrically deploying sideboards, and this optional interior color. That color, which costs an extra 10,000 RMB, around 1,500 bucks, includes the addition of this ultra suede headliner. Now, normally the headliner would be a more traditional fabric one that doesn't feel quite as fancy. I will say, however, this is a great interior color, and it is very much worth the money. There's not a great deal to complain about when it comes to interior material quality on this car, especially on this one with the optional interior color like this. These are real leather seats with heating, cooling, and massaging, both front and second row. I will, however, say that this wood trim, while very well matched with the interior color, I'll just say this, if this is real wood, it's the thinnest real wood veneer I have ever experienced in a car. It just doesn't feel very premium. Another small point, the little mystery nipples, as I call them, on the steering wheel of this car, I suspect that they are made of real metal. The reason I suspect that is because they nearly burned off my fingertips after I left this car in the sun for a few hours and then touched them. The advantage of being the exact same size as the M9 is that the M8 has the exact same space as well, which means lots of leg room here in the second row, as well as headroom. These seats, as previously mentioned, are heated, cooled, and massaging. They also have a very nice armrest here with pop-out cup holder and USB Type-C charging port on the side. The second row of the M8 has one zero-gravity seat over here on the right side, which also features a fold-out table as well. That means that this car really only has one VIP spot. You don't really want to ask your VIP to sit here in the non-zero gravity seat. The rear of the center console is where you will find the heated and refrigerated storage area, open via this button right here. This panel is also where you control things like your air conditioning settings and the piece de resistance of every Huawei car, the drop-down 32-inch projector screen. Now, I think I've made my feelings about this screen very clear in my previous reviews of the Aito M9 and Stellato S9, both of which had the exact same thing. Long story short, it's huge, it's too close to your face, and the clarity is very low. Even if, as I have done now, you close the sunshade and you close the overhead shade as well. It's just not very high clarity, and I don't really like looking at it. I will, however, say that they have made one major improvement. Previous versions had to have a Huawei phone in order to control it, or in the case of the Stellato, a kind of terrible little screen that pops up. This, however, now has an optional remote, something they probably should have had from the very beginning. Not probably, definitely. This is much easier than any of the other previous control options that you had, and I think that this is a major improvement in terms of usability. Finally, I'm going to say something that I think you guys probably won't find very surprising, at least a lot of you, because I know a lot of you are a fan of this screen. I spoke to a salesperson at an Aito dealership, and they told me that 80% of M8 buyers optioned this screen, which costs over $2,000 US. So obviously, I'm in the minority. Comfort in the third row of the M8 is perfectly acceptable for adults when it comes to shorter, maybe even medium trips. That's helped by the fact that space, legroom, headroom, not bad. You've also got adjustable rake on the seats, as well as seat heating and a USB Type-C charging port. Now, all of that is available on both sides. The only real compromise when it comes to sitting back here is the fact that the floor does feel quite high. While a pure electric version of this car will be hitting the market soon, as of right now, only this EREV is available. It combines a 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder with a large battery pack and dual electric motors, making a total of 392 kilowatts and 598 newton-meters of torque, enough to heave this 2.7-ton SUV to 100 kilometers per hour in just 5.2 seconds. But while there is only one powertrain available, there are two different battery packs, both supplied by CATL. The base car has a 37 kilowatt-hour battery pack, LFP chemistry, with a claimed CLTC range of 201 kilometers, whereas this higher spec car has a 53.4 kilowatt-hour NMC pack. It has a claimed range of 310 kilometers. The combined range, that's fuel plus electricity, on this bigger battery model is a bladder-breaking 1,526 kilometers. Back when I drove the M9, I commented that it felt a little bit lighter on its feet than some of its major competitors, including the Li Auto L9. I don't know what happened between that car and this one, but I don't think it's fair to say the same about the M8. This car outright recommends that you drive it in comfort mode. I mean, literally in the menu here for the driving modes, it says comfort, parentheses, 推荐, which means recommended in Chinese. Comfort mode is indeed very soft, very refined, and comfortable in terms of ride quality, but holy moly does it result in some outrageous levels of body movement the second you throw into a corner faster than anything over like a walking pace. The steering is also incredibly light. I mean, it's light enough that, yeah, you can move it with one finger, but I think you could probably move it with just your thoughts if you tried hard enough. There's, of course, a sport mode available, which firms up the suspension and gets rid of some of that body roll. It also makes for heavier, more direct-feeling steering. Unfortunately, it also increases the sensitivity of the accelerator pedal, and that, if you're not able to kind of accelerate smoothly, isn't going to make for very happy rear passengers. So driving around in comfort mode is intolerably soft, and sport mode doesn't really fit with the luxury chariot vibes of this car. The obvious solution is to use this custom mode here, which does allow you to change the settings of the accelerator pedal as well as the steering weight and the height of the air suspension. However, it doesn't seem to let you change the settings of the suspension in terms of firmness. This feels like a strange oversight. Of course, this being a car from Huawei, there's always the option of activating its driver assistance and letting the car drive for you, while of course maintaining full situational awareness, because this is not a true autonomous vehicle. So don't take a nap or look at your phone or otherwise distract yourself, because ultimately your safety and the safety of everyone else on the road is your responsibility, not the car's, especially in a legal sense. So let's talk about the system. I've used the system quite a bit over the course of the last week, and I found the number of interventions to be minimal, particularly when it came to issues of safety. I did intervene on multiple occasions when I felt that the system was simply responding too slowly to whatever traffic situation and causing me to block cars behind me. There is one feature unrelated to the performance of the system that I really do appreciate about it, and that is the exterior lights, these blue-green lights that activate when the system is on. These lights are intended to inform cars around you that, hey, look out, this car is using its driver assistance, so the driver isn't in control, so to speak. As a person who spends a lot of time on Chinese roads with a lot of cars using driver assistance, I really like these lights. This is not the first car to use them. In fact, Li Auto was the first brand to have these on their cars, but it's becoming increasingly common here in the Chinese car market, and I appreciate it. Simply put, I think this is the best system currently available in the Chinese car market, and I'd also argue that makes it the best system available in the world. I'd love to be able to compare it to foreign systems such as FSD, but unfortunately, the most advanced versions of these systems aren't available in the same market, so that's not possible at this point. With this level of design, tech, and comfort features, not to mention the outright appeal of the Huawei brand to many people, at least here in the Chinese car market, I don't think it's hard to see why this car has become such a sales success. Having said that, however, just as it answers one question, it raises another one, which is, what's the point of the Aito M9? After all, the M8 offers pretty much the same thing in terms of space, luxury, technology, and driving experience as well, but costs 10,000 USD or more less than the M9. Something to ponder, especially if you work for Aito. All right, that's going to do it for today's review. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and be sure to check us out on social media. Links in the description below. See you next time.